Ahmed joins us again now, and I mean, the layers of ice out there are thickening. They're growing. We've got tens of thousands of people without power, and we're kind of in the beginning stages of this. We still have several hours.
We really, really do. And the fact that we had the update of who is getting the ice storm warning, that came in during our 6 o'clock broadcast, and that was expanded. So it wasn't something where, okay, now it's getting better, we can shrink it away. It got more. So this is what we're looking at here as we go a little further forward with it. You can see a live view from the front of our next weather tracker. Roads are wet, and we keep getting updates from Kelly Vaughn in the tracker, which is loaded, by the way. It has a special sensor on the bottom that reads the actual pavement temperature. And that is a lot of stuff that we've been using. Where she's been at, she's gone between different spots that had about maybe just a little bit below freezing and up to about 33 degrees for the road temp. It's holding just barely above the freezing mark. But as soon as we get a little further into the night, the road surface temps should have a chance to drop. And that's where we start to really see those ice over. And right now, it's the power outage issue. You can see right here a lot of the freezing rain and sleet in the pink and purple highlights here through all of the ice storm warning locations before you get up further to the north, and it is just snow, and it is constant as you go further up toward the Saginaw Bay region. Now, looking at the ice storm warning, you can see right here, Lenawee, Monroe, Washtenaw, Wayne, Livingston, Oakland, Macomb, and St. Clair counties dealing with this ice storm warning until 4 a.m. We still have further to go when it comes to the amount of ice we're looking at. The winter storm warning here, this goes all the way until 4 a.m. as well. But I want to go back to this and actually pop up some of the reports here for you so you can get an idea of what we're looking at. Let's bring that in and show you these. So these couple of updates came in just a little while ago. This one was earlier. This one was 0.3 of an inch at 4:45. It's continued since then, so there is a very real possibility that Washtenaw County could end up with ½ an inch of ice. And we were already seeing small trees beginning to break at 4:45 this evening. And it's continued to get worse since then. We go all the way up here into Oakland County, 0.2 of an inch. Again, these are ice storm criteria numbers. When we think of tenths of an inch, we go, that's so small. Because a lot of times we think about, inches worth of snowfall. But ice is very different. We heard earlier in this hour that when you add on that ½ an inch of ice onto a power line, you're adding the weight of one of those large grand pianos onto just one small residential span of wire. Now you're trying to have that wire hold up weight like that. That's a lot to have to deal with. So again, we have those alerts going through the night, but what comes next? Mainly, we're holding on to that freezing mark. And seeing Ann Arbor at about 31 means we're going to start to slowly cool those roads from Ann Arbor up to Pontiac, right around the loop there, and we're going to start to freeze those over. At 32 throughout the region, that's a big difference. Detroit holding right at 33 at City Airport. That's important because that can keep you just mild enough to hold off on anything more icing over on roads right downtown. Lapeer down to 29. That means that as we continue to drop through the night, you're already over to sleet and snowfall up that way, which is why you're in the winter storm warning. Now, this is the next portion here. So the next weather team has been watching this area, the rainfall that moves in later in the night. If we can hold off on that getting too much colder, we could be able to dodge the highest of the ice totals. But we're already halfway there, and freezing rain looks to continue all the way up past the 11 o'clock mark into the very late portions of the night toward the start of the morning. The last places to see any type of wintry precip are really going to be up near that Saginaw, the Great Lakes Bay region, where snow is going to continue then going into the night. And a lot of us go back and forth between these different areas, of course, on our commute. And we've got a nice update that we're going to work with here for you. So bear with us because we've actually got two meteorologists that are going to nerd out for a moment as well. We've got Chris Easlick, the chief meteorologist for WNEM TV5 in Saginaw. Chris, you and I go way back, and this is just a treat to be able to have you on here. So what, I guess, are you seeing up that way, by the way?
Thanks for having me. And yeah, I don't know if the shot behind me looks familiar, but that's our old stomping grounds at CMU, which actually ended classes today around 4 o'clock. And what's been interesting, Ahmed, is you guys have been really dealing with the ice and not necessarily wanting to say that it was a more straightforward forecast for you, because that's not exactly, easy with ice at any point. But that seemed to be the main focus the farther south you went. And up here, it's been more of a really back and forth between snow one moment, sleet sleet the next, and then we've also had some periods of freezing rain. Now, one thing that surprised me as far north as where we are in Saginaw, we have gotten into more mixing as you've gone south towards the Flint area. I did get a report earlier out of Fenton that we were starting to see some ice accumulate on things in Fenton, but here in Saginaw, I have seen very minimal sleet, and I think, unfortunately, for our snowfall forecast, we factored in a little bit more sleet, so we're probably going to be at the top end of our ranges and actually may even go over that in some of the spots just because of the absolutely incredible rates of snowfall. We've been seeing people snow blow their driveways and things like that, and then all of a sudden, just 5 minutes later, it's already covered again. So we're seeing about an inch per hour at times up here.
And that's a wild amount to especially be able to see up throughout that region. Down this way, obviously, we're getting the freezing rain and that sleet difference, and that freezing line is going to try and crawl its way, obviously, up toward you. But with the snow that you're looking at already, I mean, what kind of numbers are you looking at for the final end of this thing? Because a lot of people obviously commute from some of the southern counties up there near I-79 and even up towards Saginaw, down into the metro area, and then, of course, back and forth. And we got the weekend coming, of course, so there's a lot of travel getting in the way there, too, for you.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to end up around the 6 to, I would say, 9-inch range in the Tri-Cities region, Saginaw, Bay City, and Midland. And then I think towards the south, around Flint area, our forecast for snow looks reasonably good at the moment just because of the amount of mixing that we've seen so far. We called for about 1 to 3 inches there with the possibility of freezing rain became the dominant type of precipitation that we may see up to 1/4 of an inch or so. Certainly not as much as some of your communities near the Detroit area probably will see by the time this comes to an end. But I would definitely expect towards the higher end of our snowfall range just because of the stronger rates. And I was looking at some tools earlier today, our probabilities of, things like 2-inch per hour snowfall rates through this event. And it's a non-zero chance. It's less than 50%, but just the fact that that model is even picking up on the possibility of 2 inches of snow in 1 hour is, for Michigan, relatively high.
It most definitely is, and you and I have been through seeing, storms like this where you've got a difference where you're looking at snow and sleet or freezing rain. We had ice storm warnings even last year in some of the northern portions there of that mid-Michigan community, of course, but looking at some of the numbers even down in southeastern Michigan, ice storm warnings, they really hadn't had since January of 2020 in the Grand Rapids area since the ice storm back in December of 2013. So ice storms overall really are quite rare for the state, but I mean, up in your direction, especially with that heavy snow, down here we've got obviously the warmth that's helping out, but are you seeing a lot of that real wet, heavy type of snowfall for you, or is it kind of going back and forth?
It's been about in between. I wouldn't say it's the fluffiest we've ever seen, but it also isn't just a complete concrete either. But I'll tell you this, one of the popular sentiments that I've gotten from our viewers up here, just knowing about the forecast, even outside of our area, down towards your area, is a lot of people around our region are not upset about, as they said, you could have as much snow as you want with this storm system as long as we don't have to deal with the ice. So I certainly am hoping for the best for your guys' area down there. We've talked about it before just personally that ice is one of our least favorite things. So I'm really hoping as many people's power stays on as possible and we can avoid as many issues as we can. Ice is just so nasty.
It really, really is. And Chris, thanks again, by the way, for letting us patch in there with you, because obviously all of these, the southeastern and into the mid-Michigan communities, a lot of people live there and go back and forth, seeing a lot of different things between the two. But again, thank you, by the way, Chris Easlick, Chief Meteorologist there at WNEM TV5 in Saginaw. Thanks again for joining us here tonight.